All right, perfect. All right, so Maarjin, let's cast that back up there, and we'll get right back into it.
It is a new link, though.
All right, are we back now? Knight, can you are you there?
Yep, I'm here with you.
Knight, I cannot hear you. Give this another second.
Yeah. Can anyone hear me? All right, perfect.
Here. All right, try this one more time. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. I think we are ready to go. Appreciate everybody being patient with us. I think what we're going to do is we're going to ask our contenders to ready up, and we'll get into this set. Now, I don't know if everybody had heard our quick discussion on the metagame prior. I think the big thing I think I'm interested in, and we've talked about this a bit before night, is are we going to see any of the new Throne Makers gear? So Throne Makers event has been out now for a little over 3 weeks, and there are some really strong pieces of gear that maybe are going to make an appearance today. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't expect to see much. We haven't seen any quick casts so far in the tournament, and that's where the two pieces from the Sphinx really come in with Walls and Gods of Aru. I don't know if any
Now,
of the pet action granting pieces might show up.
Now, for those of us that don't know, can you remind us of what the walls and gods of Aru do? Well, I'll go into that right now. It looks like we do have two new pieces of gear that may impact the meta in this top four set. We have walls and gods of Aru, which are a two-turn version of Divine Bastion and Deific Channel, notably attached to a piece of gear that is not available if you don't have it equipped. Right. See how we're looking with this game cast here. We do intend to start with our semifinals match. The first semifinals match that we'll be commentating on today will be S2 IVI and Thornius. S2 as the number one seed coming out of the Swiss rounds, and Thornius as the number 5 Swiss seed. Now, Knight, you didn't happen to in the Swiss rounds play against either of those players.
No, I did not.
I've got to chat with a couple of them. We really got a lot of I think interesting builds that don't always get seen through the course of our Swiss rounds. Not everybody gets to see what everybody's running apart from their match opponents. But we're really going to get a kind of a variety of matches here. All right, looks to me like we have S2 stream up and ready to go. We're going to get that on the display shortly and get right into it. My hope is that we do see some Throne Makers. I would really cross my fingers for that one.
Yeah, we might see some surprises.
If we're ever going to see him, now's the time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to check in with our production here and get into this when we can. All right. Now, Maarjin, let's see. Let's get that game up on the display, and we'll get this going. All right, it does look like we are going to be spectating from the perspective of S2 this time around. Might be a freeze in the video stream though. We'll get that sorted. All right, looks like we are readied up and getting into this first game of our first set of the Blades of Finesse Top 4 Championship. All right, we're going to get into it. It looks like S2 is going to have the foresight advantage here. We're going to get a quick look at their builds. It looks like Thornius is going to be on a Gilgamesh Ursa build. I didn't get a quick chance to look at S2's. I believe he is running Dorado. Now, S2 did have the Amity that has 40% parapet with 40%, 20% parapet with 40% crit, and 40% crit with 6% block chance. Now, that first set, I believe, did go in the favor of S2, and we're going into game 2 now.
It looks like this is a Gilgamesh Ursa mirror match, actually, with S2 on Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle, and I haven't quite caught what Thornius is on.
Thornius is on Blades of Finesse, I believe. All right, so Thornius is going to get him to half health, and Thornius is going to take him out in the second hit, and we are going to go, I believe, 1-1 in sets now.
Leading off with Gunner and attack up from the Mimic, so S2 is definitely... Looks like both of them are just aiming for maximum firepower on turn 1.
Yeah, this is a pretty mirrored set right now. Gunner is very safe because we do have really no magic damage coming out. S2 is going to take that. We go 2-1 right now in this first set. The foresight seems to be making a big difference here. Okay, going to trigger the counterattack. But it was not able to finish it off. It looks like S2, I believe, won that last one. Are we, I believe we're 2-2, is that correct?
Yeah, I think right now they're 2-2. Whoever wins this wins the...
Oh, triggers the last chance on Thornius. Thornius does have the dot proc. What is Thornius going to do here? Osmo Strike, an option. Going to want to heal a little bit to get him above the threshold. Gets an important pet block chance out of the Mimic. And S2 is going to take it. Wow, that game was, that set was very close. You think that could have really gone either way, even with the foresight advantage.
Yeah, definitely. Even that last game could have gone either way.
Yeah, there was the window there. I mean, the second chance didn't have to proc. We had a very, I mean, honestly, that set might have just come down to just the turn order because the players seemed to brought in a very similar build. Now, notably, Gilgamesh Ursa was not the class and basically the class of choice for S2 for the majority of his competition here. I think the most common class that we did see out of S2 was Realm Shifter Dorado.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise for either of those. It's been Realm Shifter Dorado or Gilgamesh Ursa for a lot of these high-level players.
Mm-hmm. We did see a bit of Bayo. Bayo too was pretty common. Some of the classes that we didn't maybe get to see too much in the level competition. We didn't really see too much Deity. Deity doesn't really have the passives that some of the other classes got this time around. But also notably, it seems like after the towers patch, we did have a lot of the kind of the allure of deity as like a jack of all trades kind of get taken by some of these other classes. You know, Gilgamesh able to use thief gear. Same thing with Realm Shifter Dorado. Um, we so we didn't really see too much deity. We did see some Bayo. I believe there was one heretic in the top 16, if that's right. I believe that was
Yeah, Railroader was on Heretic, I believe.
Railroader. That was you were the one who commentated that set, right? I watched that set that you had commentated, and that was a fireworks show for sure.
Yeah, that was just basically two glass cannons going up against each other for most of that set.
Now, I think Railroader, as a shout out, I think did come into the tournament with maybe the best Amity we've seen in PvP. Do you remember that one night?
Yes, that was I think it was 40% crit, 50% status duration, and was it 80% dragon resistance?
80% dragon resistance. Now, in a metagame where maybe Ashen Phoenix is a little more prevalent, that might it's really the status duration and the crit chance combo that's a big deal. But you also get that bonus block chance anytime you're up against Ultima, which we didn't really see too much of. But also up against Ashen Phoenix, it does merely make a difference. Really, just neutralizing at least part of that pet's damage.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ultima at one point was the one of the boogeymans of PvP, but there's just been too much
Time.
gear and
Yeah.
amities that just really neuter it here.
Yeah, really, times have changed. We got I think the elemental resistances and the gears that negate Ultima really have been fleshed out over the years. All right. So looks like for set two, we are checking in right now. Looks like S2 is ready to go, and we are waiting for confirmation on Thornius. Now we are giving competitors about like 10 minutes in between sets for any build changes. We imagine we'll probably see some kind of variation from Thornius there. It seemed to be that it was close, but really just having a little more foresight than the other person is just going to be the make or break difference. Okay, looks like Thornius has gone ahead and checked in. We're going to get the footage up on the screen, and we're going to get right into it. Nat, I do believe you are muted.
Yep, that was intentional.
All
I was
right.
typing some things. I don't think the stream wants to hear my keyboard.
All right. Looks like they got the matchmate code ready to go. We got the gameplay going. And both players are checking in and ready to go. So we are now 1-0 in S2's favor going into set two. Now we can see Thornius is on Realm Shifter original with Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle as the build for S2.
Yeah, and that's an interesting amity choice there for Thornius. 40% crit and 2% status resistance.
2% status resistance. Now, a pretty common amity that we see in this tournament that I believe S2 does have is the 40% crit and 20% parapet. A lot of people have it, but not everybody does. All right, it looks like we got the collateral damage proc. From S2 taking game one. We're going to move on to set two. So it looks like S2 is running a fairly similar build to what he had in the first set.
Yeah, base Realm Shifter here is an interesting choice on Thornius' part, and I'm definitely interested in why he went with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because missing out on that second chance, and then unlike Dorado, it doesn't have any increased dodge chance. It does.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I believe we are spectating with S2, if that's right. And if I'm not mistaken, I see. Or no? Are we on? Yeah, we are spectating with Thornius right now. Notably, we do see a Lacunas offhand. So we have Abaddon staff. Yeah, we have Abaddon staff for the extra foresight. Interesting option. Looks like we got the extra turn out of the avidity proc for Thornius.
Yeah, it looks like it was a creative choice on his part, but I don't think it's paying off for him here.
All right, and now it looks like Thornius had used a quad edge there. I think that might have been like a timeout. We'll check in with these guys. Yeah, it looks like we did lose that game. So that was that was all three. That was a quick 3-0 there. So we do go 2-0 now in S2's favor in this first match.
Yeah, it's hard to know if Thornius thought that S2 was going to bring something else there, or what exactly he was going for with that Realm Shifter build.
Yeah, he I mean the ominous if I'm not mistaken, S2 did have the foresight advantage in that set. Is that right?
Yeah, the Amadon's was probably for the foresight. He never seemed to try and stasis S2, which in Blades of Finesse wouldn't have worked too well anyway.
Now, can you kind of break down why that doesn't work? Because Blades of Finesse isn't the Blades of Finesse system isn't quite like the live PvP that we've had in the past. There's a lot of house rules that are in effect, and stasis is one of the things that does get affected by it.
Yeah, there is a hefty list of house rules. This one is definitely going to be, though, it's more difficult to apply status effects that greatly reduce one's chance to act. So
now, greatly reduced one's chance to act, is that defined as like a 50% chance? Because I know I do believe stun dart. I do believe stun dart is one of the status procs that don't work within the first 2 turns.
I think stun dart might. What Odie had originally said was any that were over 50%, whereas over 50%. Stunning is just 50% flat. And
so yeah, maybe so stasis is going to fall into that category. Sleep dart's going to fall into that category. There's
those basically have a almost 0% chance to hit for the first 2 turns, and then they're still heavily reduced for every turn after that.
And notably, there are many status effects that are excluded from this. So, freeze, I think paralyze, burn, rot. Those are all the kinds of statuses that do work in the first 2 turns. I believe also stat down also affects as well.
Yeah, everything that isn't one of those like completely stop you from acting ones still works.
All right, so we did just get confirmation. I think we had both missed it, but it looks like with the Abaddon staff offhand, it looks like Thornius did have the foresight advantage in that set. Didn't make the difference though. So with the Realm Shifter original, didn't have maybe quite the same damage output that his first Gilgamesh Ursa build did. All right, we're getting a ready confirmation from Thornius. And we're going to wait for confirmation on S2. But yeah, right now we got our backs against the wall here as Thornius. What are maybe some of the options that Thornius might try to bring out on this next? What do you think?
We know he's a Gilgamesh main, so he might try to bring some other kind of Gilgamesh build in here. His favorite class is Ursa. He might go back to that. But
we could also see, I mean, if you imagine any Gilgamesh mains also have gear for like a ward-focused traditional Gilgamesh build or Gilgamesh Hercules.
Yeah, definitely.
Which do also get affected by the collateral damage. And it looks like we're going to get right into it. So let's pull that down here. And we are spectating... Yes, so we are spectating from Thornius' side. It looks like S2 did choose to stay on this same Gilgamesh Ursa build with a Mightiest Mimic pet. S2 does get the collateral. Thornius does get the collateral damage from the Ren Daggers.
That was a really nice play there with Ren Daggers collateral damage. That was definitely one of the biggest hits you can get in Blades of Finesse. Now,
Ren Daggers is, if I'm not mistaken, is a 2-turn skill. Is that right?
It is 2 turns, but that first turn is spent defending, which is going to, I think, double your defenses for that turn.
So pretty much the same stat bonuses that you get if you use like Bastion, or
Yeah,
anything like
exactly
that?
the same.
Okay, so right now we are a 1-1 with sets. It was S2 taking that first set, and Thornius did run it right back. Again, we see S2 with the Gunner buff, which,
Yeah.
I mean, if the meta is either Realm Shifter or Gilga, I mean, Gate of Gunner is going to be a really safe choice going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like Thornius has switched back to what he knows from set
Yeah.
number 1.
We are, though, on match point. So we are 2-1 right now in S2 IVI's favor.
Yeah, all we'll take is...
Oh.
Oh, all right, we're 2-2.
Yeah, it looks like we triggered the second chance, and then I think it died to a damage over time proc.
Yeah, stakes are high right here.
All right. That defense helping out. Thornius did miss his Ren daggers to the pet block, though. And trigger the second chance. Oh. S2 using perfect shot. Doesn't want any mischance or anything to go wrong there. All right, and it does look like...
We are going to move to set 4.
All right, what's so it looks like the Ren daggers was a good mix up here. Really keeping himself defended in that first turn, so S2 can't bring him down to 50% on that first turn. And then really, if you get the collateral damage proc with how big that Ren daggers damage is, you'll pretty much just one shot. Pretty much every build. I mean, we're not seeing anything like a high ward or anything out of these guys. So you think their effective HP ward pools are maybe in like the 40 to 60 range for most of these sets.
Yeah, it's definitely high, but it's not high enough to fend off a really high Ren dagger collateral damage proc.
Mm-hmm. I think there's if I'm not mistaken, there's another piece of gear that has that similar 2-turn structure to Ren daggers. There is, I believe it's one of the Rada Greatsword has like a Rada Stomp that does a similar high penetration defense. But that's an interesting strategy because you do forego any damage buffs. Thornius is leaning more towards the Blade of Finesse spec, so he is probably pretty confident that whenever he does land a hit, it is going to take out pretty much everything S2 VI has with the collateral damage proc.
Yeah, running Blades of Finesse, though, S2 can also be pretty confident that whatever he throws at Thornius is going to do enough damage to Thornius to kill him.
Okay. So we are now 2-1 in favor of S2 IVI. Thornius did take that set 3. Let's check in with these guys here. Looks like all right. Looks like we have readied up for S2, and we're just waiting for confirmation on Thornius. And we will we're gonna get right into this third set soon, the fourth set soon. Okay, interesting to note. We got it looks like Blades of Finesse is the first time we've had live PvP without ascensions. Notably in this top 4, we do have Thornius as going in as the lowest ascension level, with his highest ascended class as deity 30.
Yeah, a great thing with this tournament. Players are able to shine even when they don't have a lot of ascension.
And Thornius is a great example of that. Looks like we did get the OK and the ready up from both Thornius S2. And we are going to get into it momentarily. Now, Ren, the Blades of Finesse spec is interesting because it's a new addition to our live PvP roster. The Rend EP is a skill that's unique in that it has the highest penetration of really any skill in the game. I don't know the exact calculation. Do you know that offhand, Knight?
Yeah, I believe it's an M1 of 6 and a M2 ranging between 0.25 and 0.5.
And for those without the context, a normal M1 on a skill is not a 6, but like a 2 to a 3. All right,
Yeah,
so we
the
are getting
highest-
into it.
Oh, yep, yeah, we're into the match now.
Yeah,
Looks
we're in
like-
the match. It looks like S2 is going to take Thornius out. Maybe we could pause quick on the. Oh yeah, no, it looks like we're both on a Gilgamesh Ursa again. So S2, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. S2 is going to
Thornius
be on
have
an
the-
Oracle build.
Did Thornius have the Arisen Labrys last game? I don't remember seeing that, but he might.
Don't remember either. All right, so S2's got Thornius nice and low. Did trigger the second chance, but didn't finish him off, and Thornius is able to take that back. So I believe our set count right now is it 1-1? I believe we're on game 3.
Yeah, I believe it is 1-1 at the moment.
Get a peek at Thornius' skill page here. Did bring the Wisp heal if we see any meddlesome status effects. You can think like a blind would be something that does work in the first couple turns, but you don't want to see. S2 able to take that game though. I believe we do go 2-1 now in games. Throughout this tournament, I think we've seen Thornius's build stay pretty consistent. That's probably the rationale behind keeping our build of choice the same from S2. Now Thornius is going to take that one. We go in again into set point and match point.
Yeah, that was a lucky
Thornius looking for
rock.
Yeah. All right, we're going to trigger the second chance with the collateral damage. And it looks like we did die to, I believe, a counterattack passive, if I'm reading that right. So a very RNG heavy set 4. That is gonna go 3-2 in favor of S2 IVI, who is going to advance as the #1 seed going into grand finals.
Yeah, it looks like S2 is going to manage to do it, get into the finals without losing a single match.
Okay, so we're gonna take that 3-1. That was I don't think I expected the way that set to go into that going in. It's the Gilgamesh Ursa was throughout the Swiss rounds, especially in the later Swiss rounds, really favored by a lot of the fields. Notably not as favored by S2. In this interim that we've had between our Swiss rounds, between our top 16 and 8, we seem to have just kind of found like just the right calibration of foresight. You know, S2 did have the foresight advantage in that fourth set again, which was very important. And with the collateral damage is almost a guaranteed proc. If you are hitting with a really high skill, I think what was S2's skill of choice there? I know it was Ren DP for Thornius. I believe. Did we see horizontal /3 out of S2 on that last one?
That might have been what we thought of him the most. With,
Either way, the
Thornius,
damage is there.
Yeah, with Thornius on Blades of Finesse the entire time, Rend EP isn't necessarily needed.
We did have some backups. It looks like I remember seeing Guarding Strikes 4 in the skill set for ward turns. I remember seeing Osmo Strike as well. All right, so we do go up 3-1 with S2, and we are getting ready to get into our next semifinal set. This next set is going to be between Big Yoshi and Sokam. Sokam being the number 2 seed out of Swiss, and Yoshi is number 3.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised going into this if we don't see Yoshi on Gilgamesh of some variety, but I don't know what we're going to see from Sokam here.
No, notably, Sokam and S2 are in the same kingdom, and were the number 1 and number 2 seeds going into coming out of the Swiss. I do know we saw in a lot of the feature matches for the top 16, we saw A lot of the same similar builds between Sokam and S2. And if you're thinking we got Gilgamesh Ursa from S2 on that last set, there's probably a good chance we get a Gilgamesh mirror on this next one if Big Yoshi is gonna lean into his favorite class.
It's definitely true, but I wouldn't be too surprised with Sokam and S2 trying to shake up the meta. They might have a Gilgamesh Ursa killer of some kind.
Definitely. There's a lot of counters here, and we'll try to break down what counters what as we go into it. But it looks like we have readied up, I believe. Let's see. We are spectating here right now, getting ready to go into set one. All right, so we see Sokam on a Ariga Raider build. Very interesting. And it looks like Yoshi is going to be on Gilgamesh Oracle, Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle.
Yeah, I really did not expect to see Bayo Ariga going into this.
Yeah, Bayo Ariga, it looks like he's using a 4% ward regen and 50% status duration. And this set, it looks like we're going to start by buffing off our buffing our defenses. He's going to start with Golem's Fortitude and a Deific proc. Luckily, got in the first turn. Now, Sokam's pet is going to hit like a truck though, because he is on a Bayo Ariga build. And it looks like the pet was able to finish off Yoshi. We go 1-0 now in Sokam's favor going in set one.
Yeah, I think I missed it. Did one of Yoshi's Amities have 80% dragon resistance? I definitely saw an 80% resistance of some kind.
I think I saw that there. I think also notably one of Yoshi's Amities was HP regen, which was very important for his top 8 set. In this Blades of Finesse tournament, the HP regen is important, even if you really only have 1% HP regen, because it just puts you above the 50% damage cap that Blades of Finesse kind of has built in the first 2 turns, which brings you from a 2-turn to a 3-turn clock if you don't have avidity or collateral damage.
Yeah, it looks like Sokam's built up a bit too much defense here for Yoshi. He just used Guarding Strikes 4 and it got completely zeroed out here.
If I'm not mistaken, that offhand item is was that Wolven Tower Shield? So it looks like we're getting a tank build from out of Sokam in this round. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's some it's a nice win there with his sprite and his shield being the same.
Now, I did catch something that I want to point out real quick. The Ashen Phoenix did just use Blessed Shield, and notably that is not built into Ashen Phoenix's skill kit. So we do that's got to be a piece of gear from Thronemakers, isn't it?
Yep, that is the piece of gear from the Warrior Thronemaker raid boss. I don't
very
remember her name.
Is that the one that's locked in just the chest slot, or is that also available to give your pet Blessed Shield for head and legs?
I think that is just the chest slot, because the head is useless and the legs give starting ward turns.
Mm-hmm. Yoshi's going to try a Forbid here, see if he can bring down the damage for Sokam. Sokam does trigger the second chance at a Yoshi. Oh, gets an important miss on that second hit. Doesn't look like the Guarding Strikes 4 out of Yoshi is really going to have the damage he needs to take out Sokam here.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't see anything like Horizontal /3 from him.
Yeah, it's getting zeroed out for this one, and with the Blessed Shield up, with the Ashen Phoenix up, I mean that 50% status duration amity is doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I think with defenses like that, the only thing that could pierce it is Rendepi.
Yeah, so that is going to be a clean sweep in favor of Sokam, going 3-0 in that first set. That is a very interesting build here. So we have at the same time kind of like a hyper tank strategy where we're getting lots of defensive buffs coming from the pet and Sokam's skill set. And then, in a lot of tank builds, you're sacrificing your damage. You're sacrificing your damage for your tankiness. But in this Bayo strategy, you really don't have to sacrifice that at all. I think I'm not mistaken, a common adornment that you'll see in a build like this would be Stardust, and he does have the negative attack stat from his Risen Woven Tower Shield. So Sokam himself is really just going to hit like a wet noodle. He's not going to do anything, but as long as the Ashen Phoenix pet has all the damage he needs, he's really just gonna just come in swinging hot while also having really high defense.
Yeah, I'd wonder though if Yoshi has any of the either Nocturna gear or any gear adorned with Manticore eyes. Because as long as Yoshi can pile those up, he can completely blank the Ashen Phoenix. And I'm not sure what'll happen then, but they'd just be staring at each other doing zeros for a little bit.
We'll see if we get any defense decay. But what's for as far as Yoshi goes, there's a little bit of damage buffing. I don't think a ton though. I think Yoshi expected to be able to do more damage than he actually did. Getting surprised by the tank build.
Definitely.
Right on. So we're gonna check in with these guys. All right. It looks, yeah, these guys are gonna take a little time. I imagine we'll probably see some changes here now that the tank Bayo build has been spotted by Sokam. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to keep running it without changing anything up. Like you said, we do have the option for Manticore eyes. Not something that you're gonna put in without knowing in advance that your opponent is on Bayo. But if you do call it out, really that pet is just not really going to do anything.
Yeah, I think Manticore eyes, you can justify them if you think there's a chance your opponent's going to be on Bayo. They're pretty good adornments on their own. They do give that 2% ward.
They give the 2% ward, and they gave a similar array of stats as the Jewels of Creation. So you get a little bit of attack, you get a little bit of defense, a little bit of HP. But it's not the Adorn you want if you think you're going to be up against like a Gilgo or a Realm.
Really anything else other than specifically Bayo.
It might make sense. For example, if you think there's like a 1/3 chance that Sokam does a Bayo build again on this next set. So even if you don't go like the full complement of Manticore eyes, there is always kind of the option there if like, well, maybe I'll put in like a quarter or a third of my armor adornments as Manticore eyes, so that way I have some protection against the Bayo. It's always an option.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Manticore eyes and Nocturna gear both are M1 reductions, meaning that they directly impact the attack or magic of the enemy, and it lets you zero them out. It's not just like a 2% damage reduction.
Right. So you really need. I wonder if is the attack button the right call then if you're against this kind of strategy. I mean, you really need a lot of damage buffs to get the attack button to one hit. But that is generally the option of last resort for anybody trying to get through a giant wall.
Well, I think Yoshi might be able to pull it off if he has some kind of negative defense effect. But I was thinking about Yoshi blanking Sokam. It doesn't take as many Manticore eyes as you might think to really reduce the damage there.
Oh, that's interesting. So you could like run maybe like Manticore eyes on one piece of gear, and you lose a little bit of stats compared to something like a Jewel of Creation adorned into your armor. But if you think there's any chance your opponent's going Bayo, you maybe that's the right call.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need maybe 15 to 20. Like, you need a good
15
amount.
to 20, okay.
But you don't necessarily need 30, 35.
Right on. Yeah, I would think. I don't think it's likely we'll see the Bayo again. It would have to be like a read. Like I think Yoshi is going to adapt here. So I'm going to stay Bayo as like a mind game type thing. But it looks like we have we're ready. We're getting close now to our set 2. We have Sokam ready up, and we're just waiting on Yoshi to confirm. And then we're going to go ahead and get into set 2.
I wouldn't be too surprised if Yoshi actually is readorning something right now.
I would think so. Just the chance of the Bayo is going to make a big difference. Now, we didn't see too much Bayo in this in this tournament here. It looks like we of all the contenders here, really, the contender that kind of lead into Bayo the most was Inarin, who did make a top 16 appearance.
Yeah, and Inarin's kind of known for Bayo, so that makes sense. If you were facing up against Inarin, if you really wanted to metagame it, you probably run the Manticore Eyes by default, and then die to Bayo Hydrus instead.
That's right. You know, as a Bayo main, you do have the option for either leaning into your pet or having a really strong Hydrus hybrid strategy. I did talk a bit with Inarin, who did seem pretty adamant that that Bayo is also like one of the very competitive builds in this meta here, but not one that really one that got kind of hurt a bit with the introduction of Manticore Eyes, with the introduction of the Linkus pet.
Yeah, it could be the underdog here. I mean, if we have competitors here that are relying on Linkus Bristles, either for avidity or for collateral damage, then they can't run Manticore Eyes.
That's right. Which you would think would probably apply to Yoshi. You would think, because if we're leading out with Gilgamesh Ursa, you know, he got zeroed out in that set, so we didn't really get to see too much of it. But I mean, you can get it up there so that your collateral damage is like 100% guaranteed with enough Linkus Bristle.
Yeah, it looks like he wasn't running that, because I think there were at least a few times where it didn't proc for him.
So maybe like a mix of bristles and something else, or maybe even no bristles. All right, so we are getting a ready confirmation from our two players here. It looks like these guys are ready to go. We are gonna go in now to set 2 of Sokam versus Yoshi. We are 1-0 in favor of Sokam. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be viewing from Yoshi's point of view in this time. All right, looks like Sokam does have the foresight advantage again in this set. Sokam is going to stay on the Raider build. It looks like that Amity with the HP regen did have the status resistance. We're going to get the Deific proc on the first turn. Yoshi is on I believe on a Raider build. Very interesting. So Yoshi looking to buff a little bit more damage and penetrate through the defenses of this Bayo build from Sokam.
Yeah, he's still trying with Guarding Strikes 4, though, and that skill, it has penetration, but not nearly enough for what Sokam's running here.
Yeah, if you're not on Blades of Finesse, probably your highest penetration option, I would think, would be Horizontal Slash.
Yeah, Horizontal Slash 3 has an M1 of 2.6, which is still a lot less than Epi's 6.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sokam does have the full complement right now of Barrier and Golem's Fortitude with the Deific proc, and the Blessed Shield. So we got sky-high defenses from Sokam in this first game.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Yoshi's going to be able to do here. It doesn't look like he's running any skill that'll deal with this. He's going for a little bit of statuses, so...
Yeah, so we had the freeze immunity from Yoshi, and Yoshi is able to blight on Sokam. So maybe maybe stall him out, make Sokam not attack. You know, Sokam misses 2 turns off that blight. Sokam is going to get blinded.
Phoenix doesn't.
All right, so Sokam is going to go ahead and take that first game. We're going to go 1-0 now, going into game 2 of set 2. Yoshi on the Mightiest Mimic pet again. He is really just going to be looking to spend these first couple turns buffing his damage as much as possible, but really not able to get a leg up on the buffing defense ability of Sokam.
Is no matter how much you buff your damage, it doesn't. That buffing your damage is an M2 buff, so it's a final multiplier. It's never going to give you more penetration against your opponent.
Right, unless we use the attack button, which
unless you use the attack button, which he hasn't.
He hasn't. This looks like Sokam also is going to use the Jin's Might for a damage buff on the Phoenix. We see, not a huge ward pool. Really, if you get any penetration on this tank build, I mean, we're only looking at 29k ward with what a 15k HP pool. He was really just looking to either zero him out or get hit by a big hit, because there's really not going to be any in between. There's no like big ward pool for Sokam to soak any damage as this tank build.
Yeah, if Yoshi had Rend Epi with him, we might see a different story here. I don't know if he has that spec or not.
All right, now Sokam is going to use Double Edge to get his HP low and get himself a little bit more into the passive. Yoshi is able to penetrate here.
Yeah, with that Deific gone and Blessed Shield gone.
Okay, Sokam.
And
Sokam, yeah. Sokam got stopped by the blight, and Yoshi was able to bring him to 200 HP. Looks like Sokam did use a Wisp heal, try to heal himself up, but it wasn't enough. And we go 1-1 now in set 2.
Yoshi ended up with double resistance down from the mimics. It's a pretty bad sign for him.
Ooh, especially resist. Yeah, that pet is going to deal a lot of damage now. So we really are on a clock with Yoshi. Got the full complement of defense buffs up. Got the Blessed Shield. Got the Deific.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Yoshi in this game.
Yeah, the pet gets zeroed out. And the pet deals about 40k hit and does double hit. So we got Yoshi with no ward and about a little over 10k in HP left. Yoshi Molinoro's options here. Ozma Strike isn't going to have the penetration he needs. Is going to get zeroed out. Sokam triggers the second chance of Yoshi. He's going to heal a bit off his Amity, keep himself alive from his damage over time effects. All right, and Sokam does put the blind on Yoshi. Oh, getting
Yoshi,
you don't want to look at
Yoshi trying to point out to us that he's loaded with Manticore Eyes, but it's not enough.
It's not enough. So we looks like we are now 2-1 in favor of Sokam going into game 4. Maybe I mean, it looks like Yoshi is still on a Oracle build, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there's an opportunity with the Manticore Eyes to also buff defenses, and maybe we don't always have to spend the first turn or two on buffing attack, and can set up a little bit defensively beforehand, which it does look like we do in this set. We do get the double down defense passive or buff from the pet.
Mightiest Mimic is just such a risky pet when you want to be defensive. Unless you're running immunities of some kind, that Mimics has such a high chance to give you negatives.
Yeah, Yoshi's back against the wall here. He's getting zeroed out. Got the attack down from his own golems. What are his options here? Gonna try to stall him a bit with the debuff from Miasma, which does stop Sokam for a turn, but the pet doesn't get stopped. We are going to trigger second chance on Yoshi. And that will do it. So that set 2, did go 3-1 in favor of Sokam. So we are 2-0 now going into set 3. It's an interesting choice. I wouldn't have called that we would have stayed on the Bayo build, but you know what? If it ain't broke, right, don't fix it. We didn't see too much variation from the winner of the first set either. You know, if you can really get a good read on what your opponent is going to bring to bear, there's a lot of room to come in with like a perfect build that just counters what your opponent's doing, and that does seem to be the case for this Gilgamesh Ursa build that Yoshi is bringing in this set.
Well, it looks like Yoshi thought he could bring something that would counter Sokam's build, but it just wasn't enough. I think it definitely was reducing the damage that his Ashen Phoenix was doing, but it just wasn't reducing it enough, and Yoshi still couldn't deal with Sokam's defenses.
So the question now is, do we stay on the Bayo tank that seems to be working, or do we change it up? Yoshi is going to want to try something a little different, try something with a higher penetration, just because This like super tank build that we got from Sokam is really impressive with the defense set.
Yeah, it's worth noting that at this point, Sokam might not know that Yoshi tried full Manticore Eyes. We're not sure. He can't hear us, but he might be watching the stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder in that sort of build if you brought maybe like a Arisen Fade Gear and buffed your defenses from the get-go. I wonder if that would be enough to really reduce the damage from the pet, because the pet was hitting. It was hitting for about like 40k. Given there's a couple of different attacks and they each do a little bit of different damage. But the damage wasn't tremendous out of that pet.
I think it's realistic that a ward build or a tankier build could definitely deal with that Ashen Phoenix.
Something with
Ashen
ward
Phoenix-
regen, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, Ashen Phoenix has some pretty high penetration moves, but they aren't the highest penetration in the world. And I mean, if Sokam could blank what Yoshi's doing now, Yoshi could definitely build in a way that could blank the Ashen Phoenix.
Maybe as an option for Yoshi, you could see like a Gilgamesh Hercules or original Gilgamesh, because we don't have that much damage that we need to deal to get through Sokam's build. And if you're able to get up there with like a 200k ward pool, maybe 250, somewhere like really high end with ward, if you use Spike Shield 1 as the damage option, that might be the penetration that Yoshi needs to get through that wall.
Yeah, we could see something like Living Arch Armor. I definitely saw that pet a bit in the games leading up to the top 16. Haven't seen
Now,
it
can you
in,
remind me? Living Arch Armor is the pet that has Divine Bastion, is that right?
Yes, that's the one that has Divine Bastion, so it can just regenerate your ward by 50% whenever it wants and bring you up to 100% absorption.
So a lot of these higher ward Gilgamesh builds, which we did see a few of during the top 16 and during the course of Swiss. Some of these higher ward traditional Gilgamesh style builds would really have the ward regen to kind of soak up some of this pet damage, because if you can, I mean, I've seen sets where I see Gilgamesh's regenning ward for 50k without using any additional skills, because you can get a lot of ward regen just from your celestial weapon, which has a lot of available ward regen.
Yeah, that's true as well. Gilgamesh Ursa is definitely the favorite here, but base Gilga isn't dead. It isn't going anywhere. We could definitely still see it show up again.
It's important to point out why Gilgamesh Ursa is kind of like the favored approach for some of these Gilgameshes. We did notably lose match point in our last set to the counterattack passive, and Gilgamesh Ursa is really the only class that has this sort of passive built in. But I believe it's a 25% chance to counter a portion of the damage that your opponent deals. And if you're hitting for big hits like Ren DP, like Ren Daggers, Horizontal Slash, you could almost just get your entire HP and ward pool taken out by your own attack just from a Gilgamesh Ursa passive.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, at least in some games, we've seen competitors use attacks that hit for less, just because they're afraid of either a counterattack or an auto counterattack, depending on what the person's using.
Or a parapet, which notably we did have from Yoshi in that last set. It's not always the best strategy to try and take your opponent out in one hit. But another of the passives of Gilgamesh that really apply here and really kind of make a big difference in live PvP is the collateral damage affecting second chance, affecting parapet. Because in a lot of the spots where you think you can deal your entire opponent's damage pool, but maybe survive with a second chance or some kind of block chance, oftentimes that collateral damage proc is the second tap that you need to just punch through.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most powerful abilities in this tournament.
Definitely. But it's not if you come in smart, you come in prepared. You don't necessarily need to always be hitting 100% of your opponent's damage in order to really threaten them, especially in Blades of Finesse PvP, where in the first 2 turns everybody is on a 50% damage cap.
Yeah, that 50% damage cap, at face value, it's just there to prevent one-shots, but it adds quite a lot of strategy and counterplay to Blades of Finesse.
I want to point out again the strategy behind the HP regen amity that Yoshi brought in those last 2 sets. So in Blades of Finesse, in the first 2 turns, you can only deal at most 50% of your opponent's HP pool. It does let you deal extra damage into your ward, but it stops the damage exactly at 50%. Now, there's a couple ways to kind of circumvent this and turn it into a 2-turn hit. Realm Shifter does have avidity turns that it can get an extra turn and just deal another 50%. Gilgamesh Ursa has the collateral damage. But
Bayo Origa can do that double hit from their
now Bayo can, if I'm not mistaken, on like a perfect build, like if you're going in against a like a Blades of Finesse builds, I think Bayo is one of the only classes that actually has the opportunity to kill on turn 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that can technically happen. I don't know if we're ever going to see that in this top 4.
Pretty fringe.
Generally, just because it's such a flimsy build to have that set up.
You're really going in for all damage, and you just kind of leave yourself open. It works, and it doesn't work against everyone. It only really works when your opponent is also coming in with a build that's pretty flimsy.
Yeah, I think it's just too much risk for us to see in this tournament.
All right, both of these competitors thinking about their set 3 approach. Don't have either readied up just yet. So maybe this will be the set where we see a little bit of mix-up coming out from, ideally both of these guys really. Which I don't really know what kind of options Yoshi has to bear. I do know a few of the different strategies that were being brought by S2 and Sokam. So I still want to see some Realm Shifter Dorado, because in this top 4 so far, common class that we've seen is Gilgamesh Ursa, but man, there are some really strong Dorado builds that really rely on kind of maximizing their chance to gain avidity turns.
Yeah, I know at least a few of those got knocked out in the top 16.
Mm-hmm. The course of the top 16 was pretty interesting. Did you get a chance to watch most of those games?
I've watched a few of them, but I haven't had a chance to watch too many of them yet.
Luckily, they are
all up on this YouTube channel, available to be watched by anyone.
That's right. And we got through the first 9. There's going to be a few more that come out after the fact. But we do have in the top 16 another strategy that's kind of important to mention that I don't think we're going to see here. There was lots of people implementing counterattack and counterattack stalls, and that was another pretty common strategy that we saw through the course of Swiss and through the course of the top 16. And a lot of those players that were leaning into that really did get knocked out.
Yeah, there's definitely some counterplay against counterattack. Looks like our competitors are ready up now, so we should be heading into set 3 now.
Okay, what do they bring? Do we change it up? Do we go with something completely out of left field? We will see. All right, looks like we're waiting for Sokam to ready up on this set. Okay, right away we see Yoshi on a very. It looks like we got Gory as the pet today. So Gory is another one of the pets that does have a Divine Bastion. It looks like we are going to go for more of a ward-heavy approach. Now, notably, Sokam is no longer on a Bayo build, but is on a base deity build.
Yeah, this is a really interesting choice by both of our competitors here.
We see some Spike Shield from Yoshi. Looks like we're using the Celestial Axe. But Sokam's damage is pretty high and is able to take him out for that first game. So we go 1-0 now for Sokam. Deity let's see. We do need to get the point of view back up there. But deity, importantly, is going to have a lot of decks. But if we're using a strategy that's spike shield heavy, spike shield has a built-in accuracy regardless of your opponent's dodge chance. So this is actually a pretty interesting match here. We opt for spike shield, and the Sokam opts for like a deck strategy. But we come in with the right counter.
Yeah, it looks like Sokam is using Circumstance on the well-known, which we could say is one of the most well-known amenities in this tournament. It's the one
Definitely.
that's 40% crit and 20% parapet.
Now, I do want to point out that Sokam's pet did use Great Meditation. So we do see another piece of the Thronemaker's gear. Sokam able to use Gods of Aru on the first turn. So we do get to see the first Thronemaker's gear build coming on out.
Man, I am sorry for doubting you. Sokam right here with a quick cast build utilizing 2 pieces of Thronemaker's gear, and it's really paying off for him.
Turn 1 Deific Channel is an extremely powerful effect, and it's an effect you're going to want to really build around. We go, I believe, was that was a quick 3-0, wasn't it? It's almost done before you can even kind of break down what was going on. We did, yeah. So that quick cast build, that was interesting because there was 2 different pieces of Thronemaker's gear that we saw in that deity quick cast build. So one being the piece of gear that offers Gods of Aru. Gods of Aru is the 2-turn Deific Channel, and we did also have a piece of gear that granted Sokam's pet the ability to cast Great Meditation for a triple magic up.
Yeah, so his chest slot is definitely the chest that grants Great Meditation, but we don't know if it's his boots or its helmet that he's getting Gods of Aru off of.
It does have Gods of Aru does have equipment in all 3 slots, so you really have some flexibility with what you're with where you're going to slot that in.
Yeah, and that was over so quickly. Hopefully, we don't know if S2 and Sokam came up with that build together, so we don't know if S2 knows about it.
I bet the camaraderie ends right here, where we are going to get an all Alpine Kingdom finals between S2 and Sokam. Yeah, I would think that if I think my most likely grand finals competitor is going to be my own kingdom mate, I wouldn't show him anything. I don't know about you.
Well, I know they were practicing a lot for the tournament. They were theory crafting a lot together, and I don't know if they left some stuff out here in the top 4. Try to come up with something spicy the other person wouldn't guess.
I think that last build that we saw there out of Sokam was very spicy. That's sort of the builds that we were hoping to see coming into this grand finals.
Yeah, that is definitely been one of the biggest surprises of the tournament so far, was that build. Just immediately 2 brand new pieces of gear used in a way that we hadn't really guessed would happen.
And if we see Gods of Aru quickcast, there's a chance we could also see Walls of Aru quickcast. It's a little harder to pull off quickcast on I think because you would be using the Oceanus Adornment for quickcast on your Celestial weapon. That's how these guys are getting the majority of their turn reduction for this quickcast build. But notably, if you do bring a lot of the quick cast, you're not really bringing the on your Celestial weapon. So that's maybe we see walls, maybe we don't. But I think just the fact that we got the Guards of Iron on that set was perfect.
Yeah, and it looks like we're getting tilted from the back end here. We're going to take a bit of a break, come back with the 3rd place matchup between Big Yoshi and Thornius.
All right. So we got, like Knight said, we're going to take a quick break, give everybody a second to breathe. Yeah, thank you all for watching so far. We are going to have our 3rd place match next, and we will see you shortly. All right, looks like we are gonna get back into it. So that was a pretty interesting semifinal set that we had there. We didn't see too much variation coming in from the first set, but we did see a pretty exciting mix-up on the Sokam Yoshi set. What do you think, Knight?
Yeah, I agree. That was really exciting to see Sokam completely change up the build there. I wouldn't have expected to see base deity in this tournament going into it. In
Yeah,
any build.
Base deity is interesting because it does have celestial loot where a lot of the other classes don't. So there's a good reason to run base deity. And base deity, you know, the hybrid that you're going to get from the loot is going to synergize pretty well with the turn one quick cast deific channel. So the whole build, it makes sense. But man, if you had asked me what Sokam was going to run going into this set, I don't think I would have called either of those builds.
Base deity is an interesting choice over Bayo Hydras, which can also use the loot and got a lot of hybrid offense there. I would guess Sokam must have been going for something a little more tanky, and maybe hoping for deity's deific channels proc by itself.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a lot of dexterity on deity. You've got the second chance. You got a good amount of damage. You know, maybe with this new quick cast build coming into the meta, maybe base deity is going to be one of the builds that we see favored going into the grand finals.
We can
But, you know, there's probably
in a moment. Looks like
yeah.
Big Yoshi and Thornius are getting into it.
All right, so everybody, we are going into the third place match. This is going to be between Yoshi and Thornius, and it looks like we are going to get the Yoshi broadcast going into set one. All right, so we're going to see a Gilgamesh Ursa mirror here. It looks like Thornius is on Blade of Finesse spec, and Yoshi is going to be on a Raider spec. Both of them bringing 5% HP regen. Again, favorite damage skill of Yoshi is going to be the Guarding Strikes 4. Notably, Yoshi did have the foresight advantage that set. You know, the Mightiest Mimic pet. Yeah, the Mightiest Mimic pet might be the most common pet here. So that was, I believe Thornius took the second game, so we're now 1-1 now going into game 3. Thornius gets an important counterattack trigger, and is able to take Yoshi out. So Yoshi takes game 1, but Thornius takes games 2 and 3. Now we can see that Yoshi is on a dual weapon build with the Celestial Bow and the Morgan loot.
Yeah, he must be aiming to get a high of an attack as possible. He might have Selene hands of some kind in that bow.
All right, now the way that set went, you know, Yoshi did have the foresight advantage, but it turns out that the luck of the draw is on Thornius, who takes Yoshi out in that last game 5. So we are now going to go 1-0 in the set count in favor of Thornius.
Yeah, I mean, this matchup right here was pretty similar to what we saw between Thornius and S2, where it was just a lot of whoever got the counterattacks or the second chances.
Raider's an interesting. I think Raider was an interesting spec of choice. You know, one of the benefits of Raider is that in addition to buffing damage and defenses, that also buffs dexterity. But we didn't really see like any like a miss chance for Thornius. Thornius didn't really miss any of his big hits. And with the damage that Thornius has coming out there, it's you know, the Berserk 3 buff really is just going to be there for the little extra attack. And in this meta, you know, we have a lot of different options for like a high damage strategy.
Yeah, and with Thornius, at least for the moment, favoring Blade of Finesse, Yoshi won't be able to tank any kind.
No, once you're past the 50% damage reduction on the first 2 turns, it should just be one-hit KOs from here on. All right, right, now it looks like we got the ready for Yoshi. Looks like we got the ready for Thornius. So I think we're just gonna get right back into it and go into set 2. Wonder what we see here. Probably won't see too much. Oh yeah, probably won't see too much variation between sets 1 and set 2 if we're readied up this quickly.
I think the competitor could have alternate loadouts ready to go.
It's true. It's true. I don't know about you, but myself, I think when they first introduced the ability to buy more skill pages, man, I must have bought like 8 or 9 of them right at the get-go. All right, so we are just going to get right into it. It looks like we are streaming from Thornius's perspective here. Yoshi is going to continue to have the foresight advantage.
It's like we're on Yoshi's perspective still.
Does look like we're on Yoshi's. So with the defeat, it looks like Thornius is going to take that game 1. We're going to get back into it momentarily. Now, I do want to give a special shout out. He's not on the casting with us, but this production could not have happened without Maarjin, who is running everything in the background. And I just want to give a special shout out to Maarjin. Okay, we trigger the second chance of Yoshi.
Surprised that Guarding Strikes 4 is a favorite here of both of them. But it really is just a solid skill that you don't see too often.
Okay, Thornius does have the foresight advantage here. Is going to take Yoshi out in 2 hits with the collateral damage proc.
Yeah, Thornius running an Arisen Labrys.
It's interesting. Would a celestial like great bow work in that sort of build too?
I don't think so, because the Arisen Labrys has increased collateral damage and increased proc chance for collateral damage, and that's definitely what Thornius is using it for here.
So that was a passive on Arisen Labrys that was added with the addition of collateral damage.
Yes.
Very interesting. Both these guys are low here. What'll happen? Looks like Thornius was able to take that one, I believe, or was that Yoshi?
Was managing chat. I wasn't looking. Looks like it was Thornius that took it though.
Wow, 2 very close sets. Both of them went to game 5. It's very interesting. So we are still streaming with Yoshi. Maybe we can turn that off so we don't give away the build here. I'd love to go into some builds maybe once all the competition is set and done. You know, really like the gameplay itself that we see maybe is only like half of what's like actually going on for like live PvP, because a lot of the strategy really does happen at the build level. You know, you swap a piece of gear here and there, you can give yourself immunities, you can do options like Lugus proc, you can do a lot of different things in between sets, and those little changes that we don't really get to see on a gameplay level really do end up making like all the difference.
Yeah, even if you change one piece of gear, it could up your foresight for that foresight advantage, up your defense so that some of your opponent's lesser penetrating attacks can't get through.
Mm-hmm. We do, you know, foresight, I think, was the deciding factor in that last set. It seemed like, you know, Yoshi had foresight advantage game set 1, Thornius had it for set 2. But I mean, I think looking over all these sets and throughout the whole tournament in general, really the make or break factor was do you get to go first, and do you get to get that first turn where you don't have any damage cap before your opponent does. The damage cap really does change up the strategy a little bit. Live PvP in its previous iterations was a different beast. You know, you would have swash builds that focused heavily on foresight in order to go first and then take you out in the first hit. And that was a common strategy we would see in the last Order Champions 3. Notably Radicor and Hornet Champions 2 did beat the Swiss rounds undefeated on a 4-site swash build. But it's not really it's a different sort of approach that you have to take for this Blades of Finesse.
Yeah, that long list of house rules definitely gives you a lot to think about.
Now, are there some other of the house rules that we ought to mention here? Notably, among the classes that we aren't seeing is Summoner, because Summoner does get hit by losing one of its summons off the get-go.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason we haven't seen Grand Summoner really pop up in this entire tournament.
Aw. Big thanks to JustFold, Knight, and Maarjin. We love you too, man. All right, so it looks like we are getting close to set 3. It looks like we're going to be spectating from Thornius's perspective this time around. What do you think, Knight? What's I mean, I would think that these guys stay on the same general build, but switch up some of the little gear here and there.
Yeah, and heading into this, it looks like that's exactly what's happening. Thornius on Gilgamesh Ursa, Yoshi on Gilgamesh Ursa.
Looks like Thornius is gonna, Thornius is gonna stay on the Labrys. All right, Yoshi's gonna take him down to 1 health, trigger the second chance, but it is Thornius who's able to bring it back and take that first game. 20% parapet, earth 80%. I didn't catch that last one, but it looks like we have kind of an earth damage strategy from some of Yoshi's amenities. Yoshi gets the collateral damage, but it isn't enough to take him out. We get I believe it was a pet block, and then I believe it was that Thornius in that second game, or was that Yoshi?
Yoshi did end up winning that game.
We are now 1-1 going to game 3. Yoshi triggers a second chance and does take. Looks like what do we have there?
That was a draw, so Thornius won that one.
Right, and in Blades of Finesse, the draw does go to the winner of the draw goes to the defender, not the attacker, if I'm remembering that correctly.
It goes to the attacker. Or sorry, no, sorry, you were right. I misread something.
That's all good. We're all still learning this. When I going into this tournament, I had no idea about how the status works, and notably, I think lost my second round where I probably shouldn't have to basically just beating myself, thinking I can use status on the first couple turns.
All right, we're going into what could potentially be the last game of this set. Last game of this match, even.
We trigger second chance on Thornius. Thornius gets Yoshi low, but not quite enough. Ooh, Yoshi gets a parapet block. Yoshi's gonna miss, and Thornius is taking him out.
Gets the unnecessary extra turn from the Blade of Finesse passive. Yeah, that is going to be a clean sweep from Thornius. So we do go 3-0 in our third place match.
Yeah, 3-0 for third place Thornius and fourth place for Yoshi.
Now we are going to see if we are going to invite Yoshi onto the stream now. Maybe we could hear some of this from Yoshi's perspective, because it was a 3-0, but that wasn't a clean 3-0. That was very back and forth. That might be one of the most contested 3-0s like we'll really see.
Yeah, definitely. Yoshi, I did unmute you, undeafen you.
Yoshi, welcome, man. How are you doing?
I'm free.
You're free. That was what are you feeling about that last set? It was a 3-0, but like we were just saying, I think it was really could have gone either way, especially those first two sets.
I just lost 6 consecutive sets. I'm feeling not so good.
Hey,
what do you think? Why don't you go, Knight?
You had to win a lot in order to even get to this position. I mean, you lost 6 matches here, but you have won quite a few games to get to the top 4.
Yeah, and a lot of those, like I'm just gonna say, I will thank one person, and that is Orange Jesus. He brought me this far, and he let me down. That's fair.
I heard I didn't get to watch it too closely, but I heard that the match with Zipper in the top 16 was very similar to that as well.
There was so much RNG, like 3-2 every set, and there was a lot of RNG.
I thought this set was pretty similar too.
Yeah, whatever.
So Yoshi, what was kind of your approach going into this top 4? It seemed like through the course of the tournament that you would pretty kind of like heavily favored the Gilgamesh Ursa strategy, which is really strong. Was it like a foresight like a approach that we're leaning there, or what was kind of your thinking?
I knew that I couldn't out foresight Sokam from the Swiss rounds we did.
Oh, so you had faced Sokam in the Swiss before?
Yeah, and I lost.
How did that go? How did that go when you fought him? Was it a similar thing?
Like similar thing, 3-0 or 2-0.
Did he have the so he must have had the foresight advantage in
I
the
think
Swiss
he went,
rounds when you faced him.
He went Ramshifter Dorado and Beo Oraga with Oceanos back then. And I got murdered, bodied, stumped on both sides, and it happened again. This time I had a hybrid build, and I tried to counter it with Manticore Eyes. I figured those would be a lot more efficient.
You didn't have the Manticore Eyes. You didn't have the Manticore Eyes in the first set, but did on the second set with Sokam. Is that right?
Yeah, I should have went with a different pet in the second set.
What do you, in hindsight, what do you think would be like the right pet option there?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I was mentioning how you kept getting defense or resistance double down from your Mimic.
Maybe a pumpkin head with 10% protect chance. Just can you protect against pets?
I was thinking. I think part of our commentary went that you know, the pet from Sokam with the Manticore Eyes was dealing about like 40k. I think there's probably against that sort of build an option to build tank in response to the tank, and really zero out that pet, or at least bring it low so it's not like just taking out.
Yeah, the option definitely isn't to get the Mimic pet that just decreases your defense or resistance, and then the Phoenix goes and nukes it. So yeah,
Phoenix is another popular option for like Bayo builds that want to use their pet to kill out.
I think what you brought in Game 3 definitely could have had a chance against the Ariga build, but the Wild quick cast build from Sokam there.
Yeah, what did you think about that quick cast build? Because that's I think so far for me the most interesting build that we've seen come out in this tournament so far.
That really surprised me. I was really hoping he'd go Bayo Origa again, and I just play the Gilgamesh and again with Manticore Eyes, more defense, more resistance. Divine Bastion pet.
It did sort of look like you were. It did sort of look like your approach in that third set was. It did sort of look like your approach for that third set was more like a spike shield build, which I mean at first I thought was like a great option because for deity, you know, like you're probably going to be at a disadvantage if you're on Gilgamesh Ursa. You're probably going to have like a dexterity disadvantage to the deity. So I at first thought that was like a pretty lined up matchup. Was the strategy going into set 3? Just deal, like trying to soak up a little bit of damage and
just
finish with spike shield. Just win once. I think we'll have to wait till the next tournament. But you know, Yoshi, you did like Knight said, you really had a good showing this tournament. I mean, even if we do go out at 4th, I think you definitely were one of the big contenders here.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for the organization, mate. You've done
my
a
pleasure.
really good job.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I think the goal going forward with with these events is to try and run them a little more frequently than we have in the past. I think my goal right now is to target the next Blades of Finesse tournament sometime in the summer. So hopefully we'll get to run some of these back and get to.
And your
get to,
personal goal would be to make Swiss round, right?
Oh man, my I don't. It's tough, man.
I was
Competing-
surprised not seeing you dominating.
I was surprised. You know, it's I wasn't really able to so for the Swiss rounds, I went 4-4. I lost an early set to Ross the Mighty, and I lost it mostly just because I wasn't prepared. I didn't really know the Blades of Finesse rules. So there was a set I went where I tried an assassin build, and it just completely was never going to work because the Blades of Finesse rules kind of negate it. But I think it took me a little while to get the full course of Lincoln's Bristles because I was really trying to make an Avidity Realm Shifter build work. And eventually I settled for like a Gilgamesh Ursa strategy. But man, I lost let's see, I lost once to Interin. I lost I feel like if I wasn't like hosting, I think I would have had a little more brain space to really compete. And I would man, I'd love to get to competing again. Hope my goal next time around is to make top 16 for sure.
Wonderful, love to hear it.
I want to win it again too. I mean, man, it really is a good feeling. You know, being the last man standing, and we are gonna see S2 and Sokam duke it out for that privilege, man.
Yeah, I'm just heading over to the live stream, and I'm seeing Omnus say 2 misses for Yoshi in a row. I was close to throwing my phone somewhere in a corner. I'm
glad you
really
didn't.
not an
Yeah.
aggressive type of gamer. I've never broken any keyboard, mouse, controller, but that really got me rolling.
The Blades of Finesse is bringing it out of you. I feel you.
Yeah.
All right, so we do get the go ahead from our producer here that we are ready to get into our grand finals. Now, Yoshi and Knight, what are your predictions for this? What do you think we're gonna see?
With these two competitors, I have no predictions.
Yeah, I'm the
I'm
exact
guessing-
same boat.
I want to guess Beowulf Auriga mirror match, both on Oceanus.
Yeah,
I think
Oceanus
that's
is
something that we might see
haven't
for
seen
the
yet.
yeah.
And I'm surprised.
Both of these competitors in private have described that like a potential matchup between the two of them would be very much like a rock paper scissors. We do know that they did get to workshop a lot of the builds that they use this tournament together, and they are from the same kingdom. So both of these guys are going to know what the other is going to bring. Maybe there'll be some secrets that they've kind of kept in themselves going into this top 4. But we'll, I don't know. I think anything that we see from Sokam, we could possibly also see from S2. I think this is really anybody's set here.
Yeah, I'd love to see 100 sets and see who wins those.
The 100 sets, we go 51-49. And
Yeah.
we'll see.
Competitive streams in the back end.
Okay. We're getting into the big moment. It's pretty exciting. We started with 77 competitors, and we are now down to the final 2. I do want to reiterate what the stakes are here. We did generously. We started out with a 500 scroll prize pool, and then through a lot of community donations, did end up with a prize pool of 1,400 summoning scrolls, which makes this the biggest prize pool of any Orna competition we've seen so far. And notably, we also are competing for a title. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get right into it. We see S2 on the Bayo Auriga Raider and Sokam on the Ursa Oracle build.
Now, S2 is bringing the Oceanus pet. Notably about the Oceanus pet, we did see it a lot from these two competitors through the Swiss. The freeze does not work.
Is interesting.
Yeah, freeze does not work. It does work as one of the skills that can be applied in the first couple turns. Ooh, looks like. All right, looks like Oceanus pet did take out Sokam there.
Yeah, and
So we are on.
Seeing a really interesting item here in Sokam's hands. He's got I think probably a Final Horseman's Scythe as his offhand.
Oh, looking to apply the Doom proc. So
The Doom.
very
More
interesting.
For a foresight advantage, but he wouldn't complain.
Very
if
interesting.
He did end up dooming.
Does that item have foresight? Or is it just his highest hybrid weapon?
I believe it has.
It must have foresight,
And,
yeah.
Maybe this is a call out. If Sokam thinks that S2 is gonna lean more towards a like a tank strategy and not try to come out the gate blasting.
Damn, interesting that he's going gunner against Oceanus.
I think he's trying to make basic attack do any kind of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he kind of has to.
Yeah, he's
Go around that
Sokam
wall.
probably knows exactly how big of a wall we're up against. Now S2 does also have the piece of gear that lets his pet equip Bless Shield. So we do. I'm sure Sokam is under no illusion about how big this defensive wall is. So Sokam's going to just trying to be stacking up offensive buffs as much as he can. So we do go 2-0 in S2's favor in this first set, going into game 3. What do we see? S2 leading out with Berserk and getting the Deific on turn 1. Really strong start. We're going to get the Blight chance on S2. And Sokam is going to buff for himself too.
Trying to tank
Less
whatever
shield.
S2's throwing at him, but it's hard to tell if it's going to be enough.
Seems like status effects are going to be the decider here. Looks like we were able to apply blind, but both got cleared off on that last turn.
Yeah, he had Wisp Seal 2 ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely knew that Sokam was going to try blinding him, because I believe blind does affect the pet's hit chance.
I think was that something that got patched out? I remember Fucksmith telling me once that got patched out. All right, so S2 is going to take it 3-0 in that first set. Interesting. Yoshi, you had the right call. It was definitely the super tank build coming out for S2. And Sokam trying more of like a high damage Gilga strategy. I wonder what's like a possible counter to this like a super tank Bayo build that we've seen.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna
much.
be super tank Bayo. That's my guess.
Super tank Bayo versus super tank Bayo. I wonder
Yeah.
what's a good strategy there.
I knew Sokam has Oceanus, so I'd expect him to use it now. This would be the time.
Yeah, we don't know if S2 is going to stay on that build, though. I mean, both of these guys have plenty of builds waiting to swap into.
Yeah, I think whatever we see from one set just really has almost nothing to say about what we're going to see in the next set, just because these guys, I think, have the most options coming out. I'm still surprised that we haven't seen really too much Realm Shifter Dorado. That was really what we were favoring going in. I know Realm Shifter Dorado was one of the favored ways to counteract any counterattack stalling that we did see a lot in the tournament. Yoshi, did you during the Swiss rounds run into to any counterattack stalling?
Counterattack? Not at all. I don't think so.
Not
no.
at all.
No.
It's the counterattack was pretty prevalent in the Swiss rounds, but it's a beatable strategy, and if it catches you unawares, if it catches you unready, it will Yeah, if it catches you unawares, you'll probably lose. But if you have an answer ready to go for it, you're probably all set.
We
Yeah,
did
I
have
did. I
Realm
did
Shifter.
use the Qatar a lot just for foresight, never to actually use the counterattack because I think it's kind of scummy. Like,
Yeah,
did
it's,
have
counterattack is meh.
I don't think like counterattack is pretty prevalent, but I don't think it's maybe I think it could be healthier with like a different iteration. I think like if counterattack had a little bit more counterplay to it, I think it would be a little healthier. All right, so we do get the ready up from both Sokam and S2. We are going to go ahead and get into this next match shortly, and yeah, I wonder what we see. I still want to see a Realm Shifter Dorado build coming out of one of these guys because Avidity turns are some of the more exciting things that really came out of this tournament.
Yeah, we had Realm Shifter Dorado builds heading into the top 16, but they, for the most part, got knocked out.
He did. I think Realm Shifter Dorado, as a whole, does lose to Gilgamesh Ursa and Skada. A lot of those guys get knocked out. All right, so we're going to be going ahead and getting into set 2. Looks like S2 is going to switch over to a Gilgamesh Ursa Oracle build.
And Sokam is Deity Sequencer, which means one thing. This is probably his quick cast build.
Yeah.
All right, I think we see, if I'm not mistaken, do we see 40% crit, 20% parapet out of both of them, or is that just Sokam?
I think it's just Sokam. Looks
Alright,
like
so Sokam-
Sokam
are 40% ones, right?
Yeah, surprising that it turns out that Sokam is going to lean into the Mightiest Mimic pet here. That did end up being the most popular pet throughout this whole top 4.
Yeah, if he's running Great Meditation, Mightiest Mimic has a 100% chance to cast it every turn.
Yeah, but looks like.
All right, so it looks like what happened
that's the
was
counterattack.
Sokam.
Yeah.
Sokam did die to the counterattack passive, and did take himself out there. So we do go 1-0 in S2's favor. Gods of Aru turn 1 every turn is probably what we're going to see. It does look like Sokam does have the foresight advantage of the two of them. S2 probably knows enough not to try and contest foresight here.
Say that thing in Sokam's offhand is a Daybreak for blind and sleep immunity.
It's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know.
Now,
both
can
of
you
these
guys remind me? Can you guys remind me what Celestial Arrow does? Is that the skill that has the Starstruck passive?
Yes, so
That's the
Celestial
one we
Arrow
were
has.
talking about earlier.
Yeah, Celestial Arrow has very high M1 and a high chance to proc Starstruck. I don't know if it's actually what he's planning to use here, but it's definitely a cool ability to have ready.
Now, interestingly, S2 is going to lead out just with damage. He's going to also bring up the Gunner passive too. So he's really just has no expectations that he's going to try and defend everything that's going on here. All right,
Yeah,
Sokam is going to trigger second chance on S2.
There's an argument here. S2 knows that whatever Sokam throws at him is going to deal big hits, so by putting up Gunner, they're going to be bigger hits and could risk killing Sokam on the counterattack.
All right, so it does look like Sokam did survive with a second chance and did win that game. So we go 2-1 now in Sokam's favor. Now this is interesting. S2 might not be able to replicate this this quick cast build. We had 3 weeks to prepare after the release of the Thronemaker's gear, but you may just not get it just based on RNG goes. Looks like S2 is going to counterattack, but Sokam does get protected from the parapet trigger.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know if Parapet could trigger on counterattacks, and now I know that it can.
The more you know. All right, so we are now 2-2. This is game 5. So yeah, very competitive set in this grand finals. Yeah, there must be so much dexterity coming out from Sokam. We did notably see a couple misses in some of these earlier games. Sokam also buffing dexterity with the Wyvern speed. Okay, S2 has him on a second chance.
All right. Looks like we did die to the poison. I don't think we healed enough off the drain to counterattack. Thank you.
Counterattack.
All right. So it was very close set in that second one. It looked like there was a window where Sokam was the favorite there. But through the power of RNG, S2 is able to go up 2-0 in this grand finals.
Dex, what's that called?
I wonder what's the approach to dealing with this quick cast build. I like the idea of using like high ward Gilga against this build, so you just completely circumvent any dodge chance. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm sure if that would do it here. The way that Sokam's able to just stack up damage buffs with just that instant cast Gods of Aru, and then into a really high M1 Celestial Arrow, can probably erase a lot of ward from a high ward build.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think we saw the Mightiest Mimic cast Great Meditation. He did have that in the semifinal set, but I don't think he necessarily needs it going into this one, because I mean he's got the Mightiest Mimic buff and the gods on turn 1, so yeah, it's probably all the damage he needs, really.
At least against S2's Gilgamesh Ursa build there, which didn't seem to have too high of a defense or resistance, and not too much ward either.
Yeah, I bet. I wonder if how this build would pair up against the Bayo tank build that we saw from both of these guys. You know, they were really. It was really impressive how much defense stacking that they were doing that set, especially with the piece of gear that has the Blessed Shield skill. Gonna have to get that one for next time, folks.
There's the Sphinx is around still the Blessed Shield is from the normal Kingdom raids.
Which there's like a good pair of ward legs too. It's not only the two pieces of gear from this event that are really strong. Some of these raids do have good gear too. I know there's notably a really good pair of ward legs that have automatic ward turns on them.
Yeah, I don't think those are they're not necessarily something we'd see at this very highest end of PvP, but I think they're good for some PvP builds. Just starting with ward turns when you're on a class that doesn't already do it.
Right. All right, so S2 is on match point. Sokam, I think he had the right idea, just RNG wasn't really in his favor that set. Notably, S2 was on an Oracle build with both the pet block and the parapet. So he's got 6% block chance on top of the parapet. So it's add that to the second chance for Gilga Ursa. Even if you're on one-hit builds, I mean, he might be able to last like 3, 4, 5 turns extra. I wonder.
Suspense is building up.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of secret builds we got that these guys brought in. We still have yet to see the Dorado. I think I might just have to swallow that one. We're probably not going to see Ramshifter Grotto come out at this rate. Doesn't seem to be the big thing that it's really good for against, which is counterattack builds that have access to it. It doesn't really seem like it's going to make an appearance in this grand finals. Yeah, interestingly, Sokam does seem to have the better foresight gear. In private, both of them have pretty much told me as much. So I think S2's strategy, if he had the better foresight gear, might be a little different going in. But foresight is
maybe it's more impactful in normal live PvP where you can kill on turn 1, but S2 is able to win 2 sets without going first. So, foresight isn't everything.
Yeah, this really shows that. Foresight helps a lot, but there are ways to win without it.
Absolutely.
And if you're not building, if you know that your opponent has the foresight advantage and is going to have it, you can pump everything away from foresight and instead pump it into something else.
Because if you're gonna use foresight in your gear, you do have to forgo stats, forgo damage. There's always a give and take, and part of the strategy in between sets is what you're able to trade off for, and just try to come into this set on the best footing. I think the tank was just and that we saw from S2 in the set 1 was really just a call out, and I think that's it definitely worked out. I'd definitely like to see more of that build, but I wonder what good build could penetrate through. I would like to see if the quick cast build could do it. I imagine the quick cast build could do it if it also had the great meditation PC carry that lets your pet cast great meditation.
Yeah, I think.
All right, so we good. Looks like we are getting ready to go in. S2 is readied up. We're waiting on Sokam now. What were you going to say, Knight?
Yeah, I think the quick cast build, Celestial Arrow is interesting there against the tanky build, because that's probably what it's for, is just to pierce the defenses on the tanky Ariga build.
Do you know offhand what the penetration is on Celestial Arrow?
I can double check. I want to say it's 3.5.
That's pretty high. That's definitely higher than. Besides Ren DP, really any other turn 1 skill.
Yeah, the quick cast can only bring Ultima 2 down to 2 turns, and I think that in PvP is an M1 of 4. I'm trying to bring it up. It's hard to remember all of these things. But I'm sure the competitors are both thinking about these numbers all the time when they're putting together these builds.
Absolutely. And what I've found as I try to prepare for live PvP, it helps to theory craft and think about the builds that you do. But I found that you really don't know how your build works until you get into a set with another person who's good at live PvP, and really just throw the whole kitchen sink at it. Some of the things that we cook up in our heads don't always work out the same, and so when you're going into a live PvP set, it really is better to have your builds prepared and really not try to make too many adaptations on the fly in terms of like a brand new build, because you never really know how it's gonna go until you've tested out in like a live PvP setting against another good opponent.
Both are ready.
Alrighty. So
Ready.
Sokam deep in the kitchen. Sokam is cooking up something good for us this set. Let's see what these two bring. We are getting ready to go into set 3 in the grand finals.
Yeah, to add on what you were just saying about how testing a build is key, I think that is definitely a reason S2 and Sokam have made it to the number 1 and number 2 spots in this competition. They've had each other this entire time to just kind of bounce builds off of.
Very fitting that we see these two then as the 2 competitors left for grand finals. We are on the match set for S2, and we are going to go in from S2's perspective going into game 1. Let's see what we get.
All right, let's go.
I'm always excited to see what class and spec each one has brought.
All right, potentially the last set of the tournament. What are we thinking? Do we think Sokam takes this one?
I hope so.
I'd like to see more games personally.
Yeah.
Not that I'm rooting against this too, but I would definitely love to see this go to set 5. So I think a reverse sweep would also be very exciting if Sokam's able to pull that off.
I'm not sure if we're frozen here or if they're still.
Yeah,
it's frozen.
we're not seeing any gameplay footage at the moment. All right, looks like we did get into it.
All right, so S2 is going to be on a Bayo Orega build. We know that right away. Looks like he did get beat out. Looks like he did get beat out by Sokam. No, Are we on? Maybe we're on. Looks like
We
S2
just
won that
swapped
one.
to
Finesse and-
Sokam's view because S2 froze.
All right, Sokam is on the Realm Shifter Dorado.
Hey, yeah,
So we'll
there's
probably
Realm
see
Shifter
some
Dorado you
some
want to
avidity
see.
turns coming in.
I guess we know already it didn't pay off for him in game 1, but
Mm-hmm.
let's see how it goes the rest of the games. So he's on
mess
Dorado,
with-
Blade of Finesse.
Rendy piece. Well, Sokam's going to spend his first 2 turns buffing damage, and S2 is on the tank build. So if we were ever going to see a build punch through this tank build, this build we see from Sokam would be the one. But you have to bring, you have to think that the pet can take you out if you're going in for full damage. So S2 does go up a quick 2-0.
Oh, this might be the last fight.
Yeah, any fight could be the end here now.
S2 leading out with Berserk. All right, so we do have the foresight advantage for Sokam, which is going to be a really big deal, especially if we're able to get an extra defensive buff in. S2 gets the full gamut, gets the Blessed Shield and the Golems on this turn too.
Yeah, Andy had turn 1 Deific Channel. This is that's not what Sokam wants to see here.
Oh,
that's 0.
Rend EP gets zeroed out after taking an extra turn buffing War Cry for an avidity turn. Sokam's going to get himself low, try to get deeper into his passive.
He's below 50% health, and there's the Ember Seal.
All right, everybody. So we see a quick 3-0 for S2 IVI, who is going to run out a clean sweep against Sokam in this grand finals, and is going to take the whole tournament down 3-0. Wow. Really exciting build. We did get to see the Dorado in that set, but it didn't really hold up to that tank. I mean, the stats on that tank. I wonder if that build was a little bit more well scouted in the Swiss rounds, if we would have seen people try to copy it.
Yeah, seeing that Rend Epi get zeroed out just kind of sealed the deal for Sokam here.
Alrighty, now this tournament does go to S2. S2 is going to take the lion's share of the Summoning Scroll prize pool, winning 350 Summoning Scrolls, and notably is going to win the unique title from that Northern Forge generously did donate to this tournament.
Yeah, congrats.
All right, maybe we could get S2 on the stream and see if we could hear his perspective of how he thought that match went. Yeah, S2 really having a dominating performance in the set. I mean, it did turn out that he didn't drop a single match through the Swiss, through the top 16, and to the end of the tournament. Yeah, we played a bit of rock paper scissors in that last one, and it seems rock, the defensive strategy was the winning answer for this grand finals. All right, so we did unmute S2. We are all here. I think I'm very happy with the way this tournament ended up going out. And S2, you must be through the moon right now. How are you feeling after that match?
Oh man, that could have easily been a 3-0 the other direction. It was just mind games, man. That's all it took.
Yeah, it was interesting. What was the thought going the Bayo tank build in the first set?
I think me not whipping it out at all on the first round against Thornius might have helped with the mind games a little bit, but honestly, you could have easily thrown something that countered it at the time, and yeah, literally rock paper scissors.
Yeah, that new piece of gear was interesting because I was shocked that in that third set with the Bayo tank build that Sokam on Ren DP Realm Dorado got zeroed out by the tank. I mean, the defensive stats on that build must be astronomical.
I honestly wasn't expecting it. As soon as I saw him run Blade of Finesse, I thought I was screwed.
Do you think we probably need like some kind of deific kind of buff there to really get the multiplication to punch through with the Ren DP? What are some of the I mean, now that the tournament's over, are you okay sharing some of the details about that build? I think that's very interesting. I think my guess would be that probably involves some Arisen Fae gear. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share it. If you give me the screen sharing.
Maarjin, maybe Maarjin can go ahead and set our main scene back up there, so we can get a view. Maybe S2 can show some of the builds that we have right there. Now, notably, we did switch to the Gilgamesh Ursa on the set too. What was kind of the thinking there after that first set? You know, you did kind of lock him out with the wall. It didn't seem. I was sort of expecting Sokam to bring it back against you with the same kind of Bayo Raider build.
Yeah, here while I'm pulling it up, the logic was just, you know, mind games, because if I just sat that build, you know, his Celestial Arrow build might have gotten through me. So, you know, I was just figuring if I switch it up, maybe I can bait him to something else and then go back tank or something. But I feel like I got lucky there. I seriously think that Sokam could have easily 3-0'd me that whole thing.
Wow. Now, you had said that Sokam, between the two of you, has the better foresight gear. It did seem like he was favored foresight advantage. I think thinking that's both the first two sets. I forget if it was both the first two sets or just set two.
Yeah, I think in a couple of them. I'm sharing my screen now. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah. So S2, why don't you talk us through what's going on here and what the rationale is for this build?
So actually, I'm going to shout out Sokam on this. The Aru armor was his idea to test this one out, because we originally had a BOA Raider build that we ran through the Swiss rounds that did not have this item. We were using like depending on if we needed status protection, maybe a Hell's Garb just juiced up with some gold pinions, or we would use a Mori chest.
Yeah, notably, we don't really see too much status resistance and status immunity in this build. So there's kind of the vulnerability there. What do you think for this Bayo tank? Like if I was coming in against you, I had perfect knowledge. What would be like the approach to kind of like take this sort of build out?
Honestly, it's got to be Ren DP, or like honestly, I think this can zero Ultima. It's kind of ridiculous, but. I know Thornius got through it when I played him. It's definitely possible to get through with, you know, a really high attack.
But you have to sort of know that it's coming in, either because if you're going to devote that high of attack to your build going in, there are other trade-offs that you do make. So there's always that push and pull there. Now you did say that this set was like a lot of mind games going on, was kind of very much like rock, paper, scissors. Were there builds that you had prepared that we didn't see in that set?
Yeah. So I had a Realm D Oracle, Realm D Blade of Finesse. I had a Deity Oracle that kind of like cheesed with Pumpkinhead and just like a ton of block. It's all situational. A lot of this is just reacting on the fly, but you know, when it's me against Sokam, you know, we came up with a lot of these builds together, so it really was just playing mind games, and I just got lucky today. Tomorrow could have been him 3-0.
You know, it may have been getting lucky in this set, but I think throughout the course of the tournament, you were definitely the number one favorite going in, especially after we got out of those Swiss rounds. Were there some other interesting sets that you had through the course of the tournament beyond this top four? Maybe some interesting builds that you saw from your opponent that kind of made you think?
Yeah, so along the way, I know I talked to Knight about this. There was a counterattack glitch with Avidity that Sokam and I found when we were testing. And I didn't even notice it until
Why don't you,
afterwards.
for the viewers, why don't you explain how that works and what's
Yeah, sure.
causes it?
So there used to be a bit of a bug where counterattack was proccing an extra turn from avidity, not on your turn. So like my opponent could buff while I'm counterattacking, and it would trigger another turn for me. It was pretty ridiculous. So I tried to like keep it private. I went and messaged Knight about it to get it hopefully patched up, or I don't know if it was intentional or not. But
I think we did. I think we did get.
it.
Yeah, I think we did get some teasing out from Odie that's an unintended interaction with the counterattack avidity. Maybe something that we're going to see patched later on. Yeah.
Shout out to Odie, it's already patched. Like he had it
Yep.
patched before these finals.
Oh, amazing!
Perfect.
Yeah, that's what a guy.
But
All right.
on that note, when I was playing, sorry to answer your original question, when I was playing, I think his name was like Hiro Kami's or something like that. He was playing a Realm D Blade of Finesse counterattack spamming build, and man, I was just like so stuck after the first set when he counterattack spammed me to death and avidity.
So he
everywhere.
really
I didn't know what to do.
Really kind of crushed you on the first set there.
Yeah, and he was wide open to statuses. He could have made it airtight, but he didn't. So I got through barely on that one, I would say.
I was surprised we didn't see more Oceanus in this finals. I know that was a favorite pet for the both of you going in. What can you talk a little bit about the rationale there between like why the Oceanus pet was so much a favorite?
Yeah, there were a couple of reasons. One being the barrier to copy it was pretty high, right? You have to invest 300,000 tower shards, so that was part of the motivation. But the other one was the rune of Oceanus is a freeze without regarding immunity. It just goes through your immunity. It doesn't even matter. So when a lot of people were running counterattack builds and we had no idea who was running what, we had to use Oceanus to hopefully get that freeze proc and get through the counterattacks. And it really did work for the majority of the tournament, but we didn't expect like the final four to use it, so we kind of just put it away.
Okay, so maybe not the best choice if you don't need to rely on that rune of Oceanus. All right, now we are joined also by Sokam. Sokam, how are you feeling about that grand finals? What were you thinking?
I'm pretty bummed, but I'm still happy I got second. I knew that was going to be a
second
shit show because
yeah,
we did a lot of practicing, so he pretty much knows everything that I have. So
now S2 described like a lot of the way the scent went as kind of like a mind games, because I know you guys have a lot of the same builds shared. What were you can you remind me what your build was going into to set one?
Set one, we came up with a Gilgamesh Ursa that I think could have beat both Yoshi's and Thornius's Ursa. So I was just what they have, like pretty much more foresight.
Now, yeah, and it did seem like between the two of you, Sokam, you actually had the better foresight gear. Is that true?
Yeah, I brought in trying to remember. I couldn't pen him at all.
Now, when you're building for foresight, are you building on every slot, like head, chest, and legs, or are you like committing like 2 or 3 and then using the other gear for other important pieces?
It depends. It depends on who you're playing too and what they like playing, because sometimes you need status resist, sometimes you don't. That was a big thing, I guess, this tournament with these VODs being released, so I'm not sure if future tournaments could change that up to make it maybe more fair for everybody.
Okay.
But it was I'm just like adding a lot of foresight pretty much. It just depends on what class they are and if they can even add foresight too. A lot of Gilgameshes, they can't really add a lot of foresight.
Gilgamesh especially, that's right. Now, Sokam, the build I really want to ask you the most about, which is the one I was most excited to see, was the quick cast build. Can you run me down
a little bit about what was going on with the quick cast build?
So I have the Aru chest, and I have the legs that I got super lucky within my first couple kills of the new super boss. And I'm using, I think, a quarterstaff for more foresight. It's just huge. That's why I'm on deity too, because the celestial deities can't use the quarterstaff, which has.
Oh, I see. Because the
foresight.
quarterstaff, I mean, we can see it on this build here. The quarterstaff having 360 base foresight. So
yeah,
really, it's also like partially the quick cast build is also a play for foresight too. Is that right?
Yes, and especially I was running a night break in my offhand, which has a little bit of foresight too, and gives me blind and I think sleep immunity. I'm recalling.
Now, Sokam, are you able to share? Would you be okay sharing the build on screen so some of the viewers here can see what was going on there?
Yes, I can.
Maybe we can switch over to Sokam's game here. But yeah, no, that was really interesting, and I was really excited to see because I think I don't know if I saw it in this set with S2, but I definitely noticed it against the set with Yoshi that you also had on the piece of gear that lets your pet cast Great Meditation, which I was super excited to see that.
Okay, I am switching over here.
Yeah, we had a discussion prior to the stream about how I didn't think we'd see either of those show up in the tournament. So we were both pretty excited when you pulled out that build that had multiple pieces of Dynasty and Aru gear.
With the I wonder if the with the Great Meditation and the Gods of Aru skill, if that's a build that could penetrate through the defensive build for the Bayo Raider. All right, so we are now looking at Sokam's screen here to check out the build that we have. So we did get so is the Arisen Aru armor, is that the one that gives Blessed Shield?
That's this one. The robe, or yeah. So the robe gives the robe gives Great Meditation. The armor gives Blessed Shield.
Okay.
You gave the wrong one up.
It's a little bit of foresight and everything, a little bit of tank. I need to figure out a way to still beat that Bayo A because there's just so much he's got all defense and I still couldn't pen him, which was pretty wild in that.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see especially I think in the third game that the Ren DP got zeroed out. That was incredible to me. I don't know. What are you thinking about?
Especially Redline. Especially Redline too. So
that's right.
I can show that build too, but
love to. Let's see it. Do you think there was any other things you could have brought on this Realm Shifter Dorado Blade of Finesse build that might have given you the penetration you needed?
I don't think so. I just needed the Blessed Shield is just such a strong item. Like when that came out and we figured that out, it was game changing just to have that up with the extra 50% on top of what we had before.
Because you guys had already were already using this Bayo Raider build. You guys were already using this build during the Swiss rounds, is that right?
Yes.
So just getting a piece of gear that just makes that build that much better, this must have just been amazing.
It really is. And that's why we weren't using Oceanus too, because she's got a lot of spells. So we'd rather just have the Phoenix was broken for a little bit of the Swiss rounds and would just cast DC over and over and over. But now it's fixed and it seems like the perfect pet.
Wow.
Do you mind if I point out here that that broken the 100 pumpkinless boots has lower reduced foresight. So Sokam did a good job of really min-maxing as much foresight as he could here while still getting enough boost.
Oh, interesting. Because you don't want the if you really want foresight, you really don't want to use like an ornate pumpkinless because that just has too much negative foresight that you're really never going to go first.
Yeah, did a good job with that one.
Oh, that's amazing, guys. Guys, I thought you two were definitely the dominating force throughout this whole tournament. You guys put on a great showing. Really brought out all the stops for this finals. I hope you guys had a great time competing. I know we had a great time hosting. How about S2 first? If there's anything else on your mind about the way this set go, the way this tournament went?
Yeah, I think it went really well. There's always room for improvement, and maybe we can discuss that as time goes on for the next one. But I think it was great. Shout out JustFold. You did so much work on this. I think it went really well for your first time through. Definitely one of the best ones I've seen so far. And thanks, Knight, for assisting, and Maarjin for assisting. Really appreciate it. Like, you guys are the best. This wouldn't have happened without you guys. And last shout out to Alpine. Sokam, I wouldn't have been able to get here without you. And shout out Wrinkles and Furdad, who also participated in the tournament and helped us get to where we are. And Sol and Cam for rooting us on from the sideline.
Awesome. So Cam, if there's anything else you wanted to add in there, I think yeah.
It was an amazing tournament. Like, thank you, JustFold, for putting that on. I know you put in a lot of hours. I don't even want to know how many hours you put in, but you did a great job. And
it was a labor of love. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the next one in the summer,
where you're gonna come back and take the title next time, right, Sokam?
I'm gonna try. He's S2 has a ton of experience on me. I just started playing the game like a little over a year and a half ago. So
well, hey man, I definitely would feel good about your showing in this top 4 here. I mean, if you're as a newer player, this might have been the most competitive field that we've had out of any of our live PvP tournaments, and making it all the way to grand finals is in itself just like an awesome achievement. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, and big shout out to S2 for helping me and coaching me, and it was a blast.
All right. So yes, our winner is going to be S2 IBI, who is going to take the bulk of the Summoning Scroll prize pool and is going to earn himself the unique in-game title. This was a big undertaking, but we are going to try and run more of these PvP tournaments. And kind of run them at a more frequent pace. I think for the game, it's really good to see this competitive PvP that we really don't get to see really in any other aspect of the game. This is me signing off. I think I'm really happy with the way that this tournament went. I do want to thank Knight. I do want to thank Maarjin. You guys, there's no way we could have put this production on if I didn't have all the help that we did. I want to thank all the awesome competitors who really put on a good show for us today, and I hope there's somebody out there in the audience that gets inspired by what they saw today, and comes into the next tournament prepared and ready to go, because we are going to continue on with the live PvP scene in Orna, which I'm really happy to be a part of. Knight, was there anything else that you wanted to add there? I think you're.
No, I think you've about said it all. Thank you again. You were the driving force between having another one of these tournaments right now.
Right on. Yeah, I want to see more and more of them, and man, I'm gonna try. It's hard to compete and run it at the same time, but next time around, I'm really gonna buckle down and try. So, maybe. Well, who knows what'll happen for the next one? I bet it'll be a good time either way. Everybody, I want to thank everybody for watching us today. I want to thank all the people that took place in the tournament, in the Swiss rounds and the top 16. I am JustFold, joined today by Knight, Yoshi, Maarjin, and the rest of the top 4. Yeah, what else is there to say? Just want to thank you all for watching today, and we will see you next time.